Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to PTL. With the 4th of July approaching, we thought, what better place to get a nice little history lesson on Pittsburgh's role in the American Revolution than the Heinz History Center. And of course, we have our dear friend, President and CEO, Andy Masek with us. Andy, thank you so much for being with us today.
I'm delighted that you came to the History Center today because a lot of people don't know the George Washington connections to Western Pennsylvania. And then, of course, he becomes the general of the Revolution and the first president of the United States.
And now this exhibit, so this is a young George Washington. Something, I feel like an image we typically don't see, right?
He looks pretty dejected here. He's 22 years old. He has to surrender his entire command to the French and Indians at Fort Necessity, just near Uniontown. And he's got a surrender document that says that he started the French and Indian War. And he's got to sign it or they'll kill him.
There's no wonder he looks so distraught and devastated.
Well, this war that starts in Western Pennsylvania goes on to become a global conflict. There's fighting on every continent.
Which is, I feel like, something people don't often realize.
They don't realize
everywhere.
That there were 1 million casualties suffered during the French and Indian War. Well, the French and Indian War actually turns into the American Revolution. And here in this part of the exhibit, we talk about liberty. The last battle of the French and Indian War was at Bushy Run, not far from Pittsburgh, when Pontiac and Guyasuta, Senecas and Delawares and Shawnees surrounded Fort Pitt in Pittsburgh. The people of Pittsburgh all fled into the walls of the fort, and it looked like it was going to be the end. But the Scottish Highlanders defeated the Indians at the Battle of Bushy Run, and that ends the French and Indian War. But does it end the conflict between the French and the British?
Does it?
It doesn't, because that war morphs into the American Revolution. The Americans are fighting for their liberty, fighting for their freedom, but the French come in on the side of the Americans. And at the final battle of the Revolution at Yorktown, here's George Washington firing the first cannon. Alexander Hamilton is right over here. Marquis de Lafayette is here, and they're fighting the last battle of the Revolution. And Hamilton says to Washington, you know, Hamilton's now 23 years old, and he says, I need battlefield glory. Let me lead the charge.
Let me lead this. Let me lead these men.
And he does. He goes over the top with bayonets fixed. They capture a British redoubt, and that ends the Battle of Yorktown. The Americans win their independence, but the British have to surrender to the Americans. They surrender to the Americans, and the French are there. And here the British soldiers have to lay down their arms while the band plays The World Turned Upside Down.
The World Turned Upside Down. Andy, thank you so much for this wonderful preview. I could truly sit here and listen to you all day, talk about all of these things. It's so amazing that you know about this. But the exhibit, Wars of Empire and Liberty, right?
You can still see it through the 4th of July. We're part of a Smithsonian collaborative, and we call this the civic season. Now's the time to learn about your civics and your history.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andy. I'm going to send it back to Heather and David.
Katie, that was fantastic. And Andy's so passionate.
He is.
He just draws you in.
I know.
Yeah.
I love spending time with him.
He knows how to tell a story.
And remember, in addition to taking in the Wars of Empire and Liberty exhibit, you can celebrate Independence Day at the Fort Pitt Museum. That's 11 a.m. on the 4th of July.